Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you today to our presentation on Lawrence Kohlberg and his theory of moral development. Lawrence Kohlberg was a psychologist who came up with the theory of moral development. Kohlberg built on Piaget's work of codifying discrete linear stages of cognitive development, and he applied it to the moral development of children specifically. Starting in 1956, he studied a group of 72 boys and posed hypothetical moral dilemmas to them, asking them to give a response as to what the correct course of action would be. He checked in with them every 3 years to see how their moral reasoning had progressed. One such dilemma is that of Heinz, a man who could not afford to pay for expensive drugs to save his wife from cancer. Should Heinz not steal the medication? Should he steal the medication and accept jail time? Or should he steal the medication and not be imprisoned? Based on responses to dilemmas such as these, Kohlberg would determine the level of moral reasoning his subjects had attained. Kohlberg's is a three-stage theory, including the pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional stages of morality. Each of these contains two substages, and people progress in one direction through the stages as they grow and change. Though Kohlberg inferred that most people would not reach the highest levels of moral development. There are many questions about Kohlberg's methods, the size of his sample group, and the validity of a strictly scientific approach to morality, but he provides us with a variety of tools to use in our classroom as we try to engender good morals in our students. Today, we are going to learn about what the 6 substages of the theory of moral development are, and how children develop morally, and how we can apply this knowledge in elementary, middle, and high school classrooms. But first, let's visit Mr. Voice's kindergarten classroom. He's preparing to teach the kids about the theories of Lawrence Kohlberg. Hello, boys and girls. How are we today?
Good.
All right, so you had a very exciting first month of kindergarten, and I want to increase your knowledge and build on what we've already learned. So I'm going to teach you about Lawrence Kohlberg's stages of moral development. Does anyone know what those are?
No.
Okay, well, we're going to learn all about that today. Now, we're going to learn it in the form of a really fun song that we can all sing along with. So there's going to be some sections where I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. So when that happens, I'd like you to sing back the line in the chorus that I just sang, okay? Can we practice for a second? Let's sing. The cat
The cat
is brown.
is brown.
Hooray.
Hooray.
Very good. You're doing well so far. This is going to be wonderful. All right. Lawrence Kohlberg theorized the stages of development. Lawrence Kohlberg theorized the stages of development. Morally. Sing along.
Morally.
Yeah, very good. So that we
can
transcend
transcend
the limits of both selfish and conventional morality. Each stage is comprised of 2 substages of morality. Selfishness accompanies a younger child's mentality. It's okay, I don't hold it against any of you guys. Stage 1 finds children oriented to avoiding punishment. Susie doesn't tease her brother, she'd be spanked by her parent. Stage 2 is when the child learns to do the right thing for rewards. Susie gets a buck or 2 and so she finishes her chores. Alright, it's almost sing-along time now again, boys and girls, alright? Lawrence Kohlberg theorized the stages of development. Lawrence Kohlberg theorized the stages of development. Here's the part. Morally, so that we can transcend the limits of both selfish and conventional morality. Lawrence Kohlberg theorized the stages of development. Older children orient themselves towards authority. They seek to please and to uphold, displaying outward decency. Stage 3 is oriented to approve approval and appreciation. Sue will be a nice girl 'cause she's seeking adult validation from her mom or dad. Stage 4 is law and order, and the child seeks to follow rules. Sue wants the building to stay clean so she will not deface the school. Graffiti is bad, boys and girls. Lawrence Kohlberg theorized the stages of development. Lawrence Kohlberg theorized the stages of development. Morally, so that we can transcend the limits of both selfish and conventional morality. Lawrence Kohlberg theorized the stages of development. All right, this is the last verse. The child advances as she grows and rules become internalized. A more complex morality is found at stages 6 and 5. Stage 5's the social contract stage, and Susan must fulfill her part. She thinks the law's unfair sometimes, so she protests with all her heart. She demonstrates. In demonstrations, but not like a demonstration in front of the classroom, more of a holding signs, saying give peace a chance and things like that. You'll understand when you're older. Stage 6 brings Susan to the apex of moral development. Her values have been clarified and human rights are relevant. She wouldn't steal or kill or smoke unless it was to save someone. She practices the golden rule, but with simplistic rules she's done. All right, we get to sing the chorus together one more time, boys and girls. Lawrence Kohlberg theorized the stages of development. Lawrence Kohlberg theorized the stages of development. Morally, so that we can transcend the limits of both selfish and conventional morality. Lawrence Kohlberg theorized the stages of development.
Pre-conventional morality is the first of the 3 levels to Kohlberg's moral development. This level of reasoning is commonly seen in children, but can also be seen as in adults. It is essentially the right and wrong approaches taken by children in relation to how it will impact them. This level is broken up into 2 stages, obedience and punishment orientation, and the reward exchange orientation. In the first stage, children start to build the foundations into understanding and distinguishing between what is right and what is wrong. At this stage, children obey rules that are socially acceptable as they come from some authority figure, such as a parent or a teacher. Decisions made at this stage are done so in the best interest of oneself. The application of the first stage can be as simple as a classroom contract that each student signs, which incorporates the rules and guidelines of the classroom. To make it more effective, the students can assist in creating the rules for the class, which increases the likelihood of them following their standards. The second stage is the reward exchange orientation, otherwise known as the market exchange. In this stage, children begin to develop an understanding that the authority's rules aren't the only viewpoints available. Rather, they begin to realize that everybody runs their own ways of thinking based on their self-interests. Along with this, egocentric beliefs continue at this stage in the form of satisfying one's own needs prior to thinking about others. Children also begin to look at reciprocity, as in you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. The application of this market exchange in elementary school is commonly seen as stickers added to students' work, but could also be seen as a teacher handing out tokens to students that present good work or good behavior. Additionally, to get students to understand various points of view, a class can create a play from common cartoons or fairy tales that have the children act as various characters so that they can understand a variety of viewpoints.
Middle school applications of Kohlberg's theory of moral development. As children move into adolescence and leave elementary school for middle school, they often will simultaneously start moving from the pre-conventional stages of moral development to the conventional stages. In stage 3, they will start acting as the nice girl or boy, meaning that they will do good to please authority figures and receive approval. After stage 3, they may move on to stage 4, where they will be oriented towards law and order, where rules must be followed to ensure that chaos does not ensue. Kohlberg developed not just a theory, but also a method of how to properly apply his theory within a classroom setting. He suggests that teachers should give their students dilemmas to think about and develop their moral thinking, which is also ideal in promoting adolescent growth, an important thing to think about for middle school students. Kohlberg says that giving students dilemmas will lead to them entering a state of disequilibrium. This in turn makes them feel confused and disturbed, which will lead them to figure out their own personal stance on difficult issues and to grow in the process. The goal of his moral method is to have individuals trained to solve dilemmas as they face them, leading to an entire society that is more able to cope with these dilemmas. In terms of how exactly to teach moral development, Kohlberg tells teachers to practice the Socratic method, which he tested in a social studies junior high classroom. The Socratic method is a 5-step procedure. The first step is to introduce and clarify the dilemma and any pertinent facts and circumstances. The second is to ask students to take a tentative position on appropriate action. The third is to divide the class into small groups to discuss their reasoning. The fourth is to test and question the entire class. And the fifth is to encourage the students to re-evaluate their original position individually. Using this method, Kohlberg found that 1/3 to half the students moved up a moral development stage. To facilitate this growth, teachers must become questioners instead of lecturers, putting into practice the new paradigm of teaching. In this way, students can learn application skills instead of just rote knowledge and memorization.
High school really marks the time where students are leaving stage 4 and beginning to enter stage 5. Stage 5 is the social contact orientation. So what is right for the greatest good of the greatest number of people? There's also stage 6, but most high school students don't reach stage 6 by the time they leave grade 12. But stage 6 is the universal ethical principles. So laws are valid when something is just, and disobey when the laws are considered unjust. At this stage, students usually know what is expected of them in laws in the society, and as a teacher, you really should begin to start challenging those ideas by posing dilemmas to them and helping them solve through this. By doing this, you are expanding their knowledge and beginning to help them form personal opinions, which will help them prepare to make decisions based on their personal beliefs and morals. The key component of Kohlberg's theory at this stage is that a teacher should not just recite moral things and expect a student to understand it. Kohlberg promotes human involvement and activity, and so helping students to learn to solve problems rather than just recall the information is so crucial for not only their higher level taxonomy skills, but to enter this post-conventional stage and to have that ability to solve problems in the future that we can't predict. That's really a key drive home message with this one. And I really like this quote, equip them with methods that will allow them to continue to grow, like help them set them up for the future. This is just a couple ways that you can implement Kohlberg's theory in the classroom. Build an environment. Students don't just accept policies, but have a personal understanding and acceptance. They should be responsible for their own actions. Do skits, plays, videos, role play, make a class contract. Give the students a voice. Allow the students to argue why they should get a better mark on the test, why they didn't deserve study hall. Let them resolve conflicts on their own. Let them stand up for what they believe about a certain thing. By letting the students voice their opinion, you are allowing them to see that there are situations in which rules are not absolute. And sometimes through reasoning things, they can change the outcome. This is good for moral action development. Give the students the opportunity to see the other side of the coin. Help students take the perspective of others, classmates, historical figures, contemporary politicians. And you should definitely call attention to examples of caring and justice as well as examples of insensitivity and injustice, including bias, sexism, and racism. Anything that we can debate in the world, you should try and incorporate in the classroom to get them to see other opinions. In doing so, we're helping the students identify moral emotions, issues, and express and manage them. And this is so good for developing moral sensitivity. Debates, research essays, and class discussions work fantastic for this. Also, any decision that you make, link it with a plan of action. Do not just give them something, help them work through something.